Hello, friends. It is I, Chris. We are live. Happy Friday. Whew, it has been a week. First of all, quick check. How does my sound? Want to make sure that everything's okay with this microphone. I've done a lot of tweaks, a lot of moves, a lot of different things. Oh, wait a minute. I think I have it turned on another. Oh boy. Device. Hold on. Okay. I had it on another thing. Okay. It's good for now, Brett Green says. Wow, that's very ominous. Well, okay, so I will take it and say welcome. Happy Friday. Can you see my Lloyd Dobler down there? I can't point well. My Lloyd Dobler pen. Say anything. Lloyd Dobler for president. Don't want to buy anything bought, sold, or processed. You have tuned in to Chris Cillizza, that's me's live stream. I do this every Friday on YouTube because it's fun. I take questions from people of all sorts, people who are subscribers, people who are new, people who hate me, people who like me. And it's great. So look, here's the deal. I am an independent journalist. I work for myself. I make money and make my living through YouTube and Substack primarily. And so I love if you could support me. So if you could hit the subscribe button, if you are not already subscribed to my channel on YouTube, I hope you do it. You can also thumbs up this video. Just do that. That's easy. And then two other things you can do. One, if you want to make a direct donation to me today, which is great, you can do it via the super chat button, which is the little rectangle with the $sign in it down at the bottom of that chat window. If you do that, I will give you a small gift, which is to jump your question to the front of the line and make sure it gets answered. Though, to be clear, I will try to answer as many questions as I can. The other thing that you can do, like Jake Brasheen, I see just did, is join the Diamond Club. The Diamond Club is my membership tier on YouTube. And basically, I'm just putting more content over there, more of the interviews that I'm doing. After this is over, I'm going to upload an interview I did with Gabe Fleischer, a guy who writes a newsletter called Wake Up to Politics yesterday. Great interview. I'm going to eventually put up I'm doing a Substack Live with Chris Cuomo right after this, put that video up there. So if you want more content of me, also the weekly podcast I do with Chuck Todd, that goes up there every week. So if you want to do that, be like Jake Brasheen and become a member of the Diamond Club. All right, let's get to your questions and keep asking them, because I will go for I have to do Cuomo's show at 2 and I got to do a little prep for it. So I'll go for, as long as I can up until then. All right. KS5618 question. What do you think of Mehdi Hassan's Jubilee episode? Will you go if you are invited? Is that where he debates 100 people? I don't know. Is that it? I don't know. Sure. Dan W9813. I'm trying to agree with, I tend to agree with you on option 3 of the rubber band theory, but you have to admit it's getting harder to do. Are you starting to sway? Give me some positive thoughts on the FBI raid situation. So for people who don't know my rubber band theory of Trump and democracy, it is this. All presidents, democracy is a rubber band. All presidents stretch it out in different ways. And then usually when they leave office, it returns basically back to its original form. Donald Trump is stretching it more aggressively and in more different ways than we've ever seen before. And I believe that the options are: 1, it returns to its normal form; 2, the rubber band snaps; or 3, it stays whole, but it's misshapen. I'm an option 3 guy. Stays whole, but the way that we think of democracy is going to be different after Trump leaves office than it was before Trump came into office. Option 2, it breaks, is the people who think that democracy is over and we're not going to have elections in 2026. Option 1 are the people who are like, this is all overblown. I'm an option 3 guy. As it relates to the FBI raid, look, this is, I'm not going to defend it. I think this is, but I do think it is consistent with what we have seen from Donald Trump since he came into public life. In his first term, he was clearly annoyed that the people he put in the Justice Department, so that's Jeff Sessions, most notably as Attorney General, were not willing to do enough of his bidding. They were not going after the people he wanted. They were focused on people who he considered, friends and allies. And so he clearly aimed to fix that in the second term. So he put Pam Bondi in as attorney general. Remember, he tried to put Matt Gaetz in, but put Pam Bondi in as attorney general, put Kash Patel in at the FBI. These are people who are fine with doing what Trump says when it comes to targeting people. Remember, we already this year have him targeting Joe Biden for an investigation, the DOJ. We already have the DOJ looking into what have been debunked claims about the Obama administration purposely misleading people about the Russia investigation and Russia's involvement in the 2016 election. So the raid on John Bolton's house, to me, sort of, it's of a piece with that. I don't even know that it's an escalation. I think it's just more of the same. That doesn't make it right, but it's more of the same. So again, I think this is the ways in which the democracy rubber band is being stretched in ways that will be misshapen. The willingness to politicize the DOJ. And I know the Trump people say Biden did it first or Obama did it first, but no one has done it as brashly. Even if you buy that they did, no one has done it as aggressively as Trump is doing it. Will misshape the rubber band even after he's gone. That's sort of my take there. No One Sounder. Thank you for the donation. Not even a question, but thank you for the donation. And I will say this, I should have said this at the top. If you donate to me, whether you donate in Super Chat, whether you become a member of the Diamond Club, whether you go over to Substack and become a subscriber there, it's my newsletter that I read every day. Whether you go to buymeacoffee.com and make a contribution that sort of re-ups every month. All of it goes to me doing this journalism, doing this analysis, calling balls and strikes without fear or favor, being a true independent journalist, independent from the legacy media and corporate media, but also independent from the two political parties. So thank you for your donation, and trust me, it will go to a good cause. Let's see. Dan Good, B78. Dan Good, who is already a member of the Diamond Club. Dan, thank you again for being one. Hi, Chris. Fox News doesn't really rely on facts. Would they lose views if they had to say, what you see and hear tonight is my opinion and may not be 100% factual for each show? I'm not sure they would. I'm not sure they would either. I made a video about this earlier this week because Fox, in Smartmatic's lawsuit against Fox, which is still pending, we got some documents out of it, some emails, texts that were sent by Fox News personalities. And what's clear, this is Jesse Waters, this is Maria Bartiromo, and this is Jeanine Pirro, who is now a member of the Trump administration, but at that point was a Fox News host. What's clear is they're not just rooting for Trump. They're actively pushing storylines that they have reason to believe are not true because they know they will rate. They will do well in the ratings. So yeah, look, Fox News is primarily an entertainment network. It just is. I don't mean that as a judgment, but it is. And if they did have to say, tonight is my opinion and may not be 100% factual, yeah, I don't think they would lose anyone because their opinion jibes with the viewership. And that's true of MSNBC too, and to a certain extent CNN, but their viewership wants those opinions. And I don't think they care if they are consistent with every known fact. It's like if you can find one thing that says the Justice Department put a hand on the scale on the Russia stuff, well, that's definitive proof that everyone in the whole thing was corrupted, right? They want a one little fact or one potential fact, and that becomes a fact, as opposed to, okay, let's look at everything we know. They're not interested in that. Patrick Murray. Hey, Patrick. Patrick says, hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on Chip Roy announcing he's running for Texas Attorney General? It's a crowded field, so is it going to come down to who has the best policies or who is more MAGA? Patrick. Of course it's going to come down to who is more MAGA, and it's going to come down to if Donald Trump endorses in the race. Chip Roy, I think, had kind of worn his welcome out in Washington and had gotten sick of Washington. If you know anything about Chip Roy, he's the guy who is always sounding the alarm about spending, and about the debt and the deficit. And I don't think they care if and sort of never really getting listened to by the House leadership or by President Trump. So to me, Patrick, it's about who is Donald Trump going to endorse. If he doesn't endorse anyone, you're right. It'll just be who can say they're more MAGA, and Chip Roy will certainly try to fill that. He's a member of the House Freedom Caucus. But I do think it does speak to how it isn't that fun necessarily, even to be in the majority in the House right now. It's not a great place to be that Chip Roy's leaving to run for Attorney General of Texas, probably because he wants to be governor. Brendan Fleming. Brendan, thank you as always for your kind donation. Brendan says, happy Friday, Chris. Happy Friday to you, Brendan. In my opinion, Gavin Newsom's biggest weakness as a 2028 candidate is the bad press California has received in the past 5 years. COVID, cost of living, homelessness, fires, etc. Could he turn this around by 27? So Brendan, I actually have an even more my take is more simplistic than yours. I think Gavin Newsom's biggest problem is not necessarily the issues over the last 5 years, although I think you're right that those matter. My issue is that he's from California and that he was not only the governor of California and the attorney general of California, he was also the mayor of San Francisco. I think for a lot of people in this country, maybe not in a Democratic primary, but for a lot of people in this country, that's going to be disqualifying. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I said, oh, it was Charlie Sykes, who writes To the Contrary on Substack. Great guy. Used to be with the Bulwark. I said, honestly, we were talking about Newsom. And I said, honestly, I remember during the 2024 campaign when Trump and his surrogates would do the whole like, Comrade Kamala, she's a communist. That's my Trump. It's not great. And I was always like, I mean, that's not going to work. Like, yeah, she's a liberal, but she's definitely not like a communist, right? It worked. At least for some people, because I think she's from San Francisco and from California, and people are like, oh, everybody out there is a communist. So I think that Newsom's California roots in a general election would be his biggest problem. So yeah, I think that's a really smart diagnosis of the situation. Brett Green. Hey, Chris, any thoughts on the New York appeals court overturning Trump's $500 million civil fine? I mean, I will note, as many people have noted, that they upheld the fact that Trump cannot be the head of a business based in New York for 3 years, and that Eric and Don Jr. can't be the head of a business based in New York for 2 years. So they didn't throw everything out. But yes, what to make of it? He has really good luck when it comes to the legal system. I guess you could say that's because he's persecuted through legal means. This is lawfare. But I will tell you, like throughout his life, he tends to do pretty well in the legal system. Helen Cartwright, which party gains the most seats if they all redistrict like Texas and California? Well, not all will, Helen, because in a lot of states there's like split control of the state legislature and the governorship, and not every state's going to do it. But if you're asking if every state that is being talked about is doing it, so Florida, Ohio, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Missouri, Indiana, in addition to California and Texas, if they all do it, I would say Democrats, and they maximize their gains. Republicans would probably go into 2026, the midterm. They have a 3-seat majority now, like a 8 to 10 seat majority, 12 at the high end, but I don't think they will, because I think California is going to nullify a lot of that. But Republicans have more states with more opportunities. But it is not like 20, 30, 40 seats. It's not even close to that. Human NC. Hey, Chris, who do you think would be the best candidate in 28 to tackle the Dems brand problem? I actually think someone outside of politics, although I don't see anyone kind of stepping into that. I thought Mark Cuban could be interesting. I've heard through the grapevine he's not super interested in running. But like, I guess a governor, I just think anyone tied to Washington is going to be bad. And I think maybe anyone tied to politics is going to be bad. I know a lot of people make the argument like this is why Democrats need to nominate a governor because Washington is unpopular, and maybe, but I actually think like people think of it as like people in politics and people not in politics. And I think people like the people not in politics. By the way, do you see there's my reams of paper to fill my printer. It's a Dunder Mifflin situation. Richard Gottschall. Richard, thank you for your donation. Chris, your work continues to be great. Thank you for it. No problem. What's the best WWE match type? Is it Hell in a Cell, Royal Rumble, Cage, War Games, and why? Okay. So I have 2 answers. I think probably the answer is a Royal Rumble, just because it's so cool with like somebody coming out every minute or every couple of minutes and the over the top rope thing. But in the early stages of that kind of situation, there's just too many people in the ring. You can't see anything. The best like one-on-one or tag team format, I think, is a ladder match. Now, you have to have people who are like really aerial and really, really good wrestlers to do it. Hardy Boys and that kind of thing back in the day. But to me, like in terms of the spots that they hit, that or a cage match where you got like there's one Mick Foley, but you got Mick Foley like doing a spot off of the top of the cage is kind of crazy. What worries me is that they're going to continue to feel like they have to do more and more extreme stuff, and somebody's going to, not Owen Hart where the thing breaks and he dies, but like somebody's going to be killed in like an actual trying to do a match kind of thing, which does worry me. Marquarius, love that name. Marquarius, thank you so much for your donation. Marquarius says, thoughts on MSNBC's name change? And after 2024, should MSNBC just hang it up? I'm a hard no on Newsom, and I admittedly lean left. Bashir Warnock 2028. And where's the link for the Diamond Club? So let me answer them in reverse order. The link for the Diamond Club, if you go to my YouTube page, so youtube.com/Chris Cillizza, there should be a join link. Hit that, and that'll get you to the Diamond Club, and you can check it out. Again, the Diamond Club is the membership club. You get more videos from me, get a little more access to me than you get just from the videos I make for everybody. Bashir Warnock 28 would be interesting, but you say you lean left. Bashir Warnock would be very much kind of a moderate ticket. I don't know if Andy Bashir could win a primary. I think he's intriguing. I think he should get more notice and more attention. You know, he's not really right now. Warnock is my dark horse for 2028. And then the MSNBC name change. I feel it's like a little bit of moving the chairs around on the Titanic. Like, I don't care what you call it. I mean, I know they have to call it something different because it's not affiliated with NBC anymore. And they wanted to keep MS in there. So MS Now, I guess, is what they're calling it, which is an acronym for news, opinion, and my source for news, opinion, and world. I think that's right. I don't know, man. Like, it's like when the name change strikes me as like when a network, a cable network or broadcast will like send out a thing from their PR team and be like, revamping the fill in the blank show, new desk, new graphics package. It's like, no one cares. Like, yeah, I mean, I get the graphic designers care and the people who are designing the desk care, but like, I don't think that that's what gets people to watch or not. Do you know what I mean? The problem is not with all the cable. It's not like the way it's being presented or what the name of it is. The problem is it's like people don't want panel shows where everybody yells at each other or everybody agrees all the time. You know, it's like an outdated format. So I don't know how you change the name to do that. Not to dunk on MSNBC or MS Now. I get it. You got to do something. I'm not sold on it. Chris Vetter. I love the discussion this week with Charlie Sykes. My question is, if you think Alligator Alcatraz is going to be permanently shut down, this is a much bigger news story to me today. So Alligator Alcatraz, which is the state-run but federally financed prison in Florida in the Everglades, there's a court ruling that says it has to be shut down. No more illegal immigrants can be sent there because they did not go through federal environmental codes and studies when they built it. This is, a temporary ruling. Trump's going to appeal this. They will appeal for a stay. So I don't know. I do know Ron DeSantis is already building another one like this in North Florida. So I wouldn't get too up or down about it because I don't. This is about the environmental box checking they didn't do. This is not about like, can you create places like this that you can send illegal immigrants? Sherry Zimmerman, Chris, as per the raid this morning on Bolton's home, I suggest reading Doris Kearns Goodwood's books, Lincoln Team of Rivals, and his handling of his political enemies. Please tell me you have read it. I have read it. Excellent book. The 1850s was a very different time than the 2020s. But yeah, I have read it. It's a wonderful book. Mitchell Buck, Chris, you the man. I mean, let's get crazy. If Uncle Tony and Mike Wilbon ran on a ticket, who would be president and who would be VP? That's such a good question. I feel like Wilbon would be president and TK would be VP because TK doesn't like the spotlight enough to be president and he doesn't want to break his normal routines. He's still got to go to his trainer. He's got to go to the club to have dinner a couple times a week. So I think it would be Wilbon, although, Wilbon's jet setting lifestyle. I don't know. He does like to fly around a lot and the president has to travel. So yeah, Wilbon, president, TK VP. Marquarius, thank you again for your donation. Marquarius says, I'm a left-leaning independent. Moderate is my lane. I was one of Kemp Warnock voters in 2022. Speaking of Kemp, do you think he could get the nomination in 2028? Absolutely not. There is no indication in the Republican Party at the moment that they are looking for something other than what Donald Trump brings. So to me, the 2028 race is going to be on the Republican side is going to be who's most MAGA, who is Trump deigning to be his heir? Is it Don Jr.? Is it Vance? Is it Rubio? Is it Tucker? Brian Kemp is never going to be the Trumpiest candidate in a race. And so therefore I think he has no chance. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Just jump down a little bit. Let me make sure I'm getting all the super chats in here. Hold on. Get that one. Just want to make sure I get everybody who donated. And thank you if you did donate. Okay, I'm back. Jeff Wolf, can you explain how serious the problem of U.S. national debt is? I can. And in fact, I made a video about it. It's the biggest problem neither party is talking about. Go back. It was last week, I think. It's a huge problem, and the parties won't address it. We are now, our debt is larger than our GDP, which means our debt is larger than our economy, our economic output. Just think about that for a minute. We owe more money than our entire economy creates. But go check out that video, Jeff. Trevin, hello, Chris. What was the last movie you watched at the theater? Oh, boy. I think it might be the last Avatar movie. I haven't seen a movie in the movie theaters for a really long time. I'm never a big movie guy. I'm a books and TV shows guy, but never like a huge movie buff. I know that's bad. Douglas Hartz, what happens if the Democrats fail to win back the House in 2026? Republicans keep control of the House, Senate, and the presidency for another 2 years. I think that it would buck historical trends if that happens, because since 1856, when we've had the two-party system that we have now, there have been 42 midterm elections. In 38 of them, the president's party has lost seats in the House. So it would be unlikely, but not impossible, that Democrats would not retake the House. If they didn't, I think it would suggest that this idea that it's all about Trump, and if Trump's not on the ballot, Republicans can't win, is wrong, and that Trump's undoing of the Democratic coalition, particularly among young people and Hispanics, is longer lasting, that it's a Republican thing, not just a Trump thing. And Trump would obviously be able to get a lot more of what he wants done in the final 2 years of his term. Tamara J says, hi all. Hello. Humbuxer Soup. Hi, Chris. What are your thoughts on Gavin Newsom's latest digital media strategy? Do you see it as a cheap stunt or as an effective way of thinking outside the box? I mean, I think the tweets, if you don't follow Governor Newsom press office, you don't see, they're funny. They're meant to troll Donald Trump. It's like Gavin Newsom doing a Donald Trump impression on Twitter. Do I think that it's like game changing? No. I mean, I don't think it wins him the primary or anything, but we live in an attention economy too. And in the attention economy, he's getting a lot of attention right now. So the online left is super into him right now. His decision to put this redistricting map on the ballot this November is a big test for him. If it passes, he will look like a hero, and I think his stock will go up. If it fails, which it could, I don't think it's the likeliest outcome, but it could, his stock will take a blow. I think he's very interesting. I rated him the second most likely to be the nominee the last time I did these rankings, behind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm debating whether to move him to number one. So stay tuned on that. And I do that over at Substack. Douglas Trapasso, I accidentally took some official company donuts from the break room. Will the FBI come for me next? Herlan Alvarado, in a previous video, you mentioned that even Mississippi Senate race could be in play. Can you explain how? So, Hernan, it's sort of a pipe dream that Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, have long had, which is, if you look at the racial composition of Mississippi, it's a 42, 43, 44, I haven't looked lately, but 42, 43, 44% black. And so the theory is, okay, well, African-American voters remain overwhelmingly Democratic. So if we can get 95% of those votes, we're already in the 40s. We just need a few more points. So the math, it's like, you can get somebody, a Democrat, to 44 or 45% in Mississippi pretty easily. The problem in my mind is you can't get them over 50 almost ever. So that's why people are intrigued by it, but I'm skeptical. Paul Olson, 116,000. Yes, we are to 116,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Believ, do you notice any changes in the Democratic Party messaging since the last election? Not really. And I think that's part of the problem. Look, their brand is at or very close to historic lows in terms of favorability with the average person in the country. And I think part of that is because they haven't changed anything. It's still very much just anti-Trump. You got to get beyond that. It has to be about more than just Donald Trump. Mad Max, how do you think Democrats will do in the midterms? In my opinion, they're not fighting enough. I think the deal is that they just have to be an alternative in 2026. If Trump is not popular, if the one big beautiful bill is not popular, like it's not popular right now, they just have to be the alternative. They really don't have to have a lot of ideas. People don't look for that in a midterm election. It's like, okay, this is a referendum on how this president and his party has done in the first 2 years. We don't like it. We're going to the other guys. We do like it. We're staying with them. So I think 2026 could be a little bit of a false positive for Democrats if they do pick up the House or maybe even pick up the Senate to say, see, all of our brand problems are fixed. I'm not convinced all their brand problems are fixed. Thomas Davenport, a member of the Diamond Club. Hey, Chris, what's going on with the Wednesday live stream? Thanks. So, Thomas, here's the deal. I did, when I created the Diamond Club, I said, you know, I'm happy to do a second live stream a week for a smaller group of people, for just the members of the Diamond Club, so that you get a little bit more access and, you know, you can ensure your questions get asked. We can have a little bit more of a dialogue because it's a smaller group. But I've polled people the last 2 weeks and there hasn't been a ton of interest in it. I mean, I'm happy to do it. I don't really want to do it if it's like 2 people, but if there's 10 or 20 people who want to be in it, that's my issue. Is Wednesday a bad time? Is there a better time? I'm trying to work it around my schedule. I'm always happy to do it. Right now, what I'm trying to do for people who are members of the Diamond Club is give them a lot more content, give them more of my interviews, give them more stuff like that I'm not putting everywhere. So you get a little bit more in-depth, longer form stuff. But let me know. The one man in Japan. Good afternoon from West Virginia. I'm on vacation. Now that we're in the same time zone, I can actually stop into a live stream. So you live in Japan, but you're on vacation in West Virginia. That is very interesting. Dan Lanning's PR team. College football national championship pick for 2025. I would be thrown out of my extended family if I didn't say the Texas A&M Aggies. Let's see. Jay Jordan. Do you think there's anyone Trump won't pardon? He seems to enjoy the outrage for his more controversial picks. Yeah, I mean, the pardon power needs to be changed. It is way too broad and way too powerful. Joe Biden's pre-pardon of his relatives, his massively broad pardon of his son Hunter is an example of it. So is what Donald Trump does with pardons. This needs to be changed. Missile. I'm a huge fan of your work here, Chris, and please keep up the great work. No problem. Amadeo Eichberg. New MSNBC rebranding to MS Now is terrible as it makes me think of muscular dystrophy. Your thoughts on rebranding efforts and future chances to remain somewhat relevant? I mean, I kind of talked about this before. They had to change their name, I believe, because NBC didn't, since they're not affiliated, they're not the same company anymore. NBC did not want NBC in the MSNBC. But yeah, I mean, again, deck chairs, Titanic. Doug Trapasso, question, was MSNBC legally required to change its name? Didn't really work for Max. HBO changed their streaming name back. Yes, they did. I don't know if they were legally required to do so, but I know they were coming under heavy pressure from NBC to do so. Juana House, who do you think will be the next California governor? Katie Porter. I think it's going to be Rick Caruso. So Caruso ran against former Republican turned Democrat, very, very wealthy guy, made a ton of money from shopping malls. He's giving every indication he's going to run for governor. He ran against Karen Bass in the LA mayor's race. He finished second. I think he got the bug and wants more of it. I think he'll run, and I think he's a pretty compelling candidate. Katie Porter, I don't know. She's probably right now in the field is currently comprised of front runner. The top tier without Caruso is Katie Porter, Antonio Villaraigosa, the former mayor of Los Angeles, and Javier Becerra, the former HHS secretary and former congressman. I think Caruso is probably more likely to win that than any of them, but who knows? Paul Olson. Paul, thank you so much for your donation. Paul says, have you been following the negative economic impact of Canadians not buying U.S. goods and not being tourists coming here? I live in Minnesota and the impact is being really felt. I have not, Paul, but that's a really good perspective. Let me look into that. I didn't realize that Canada was still kind of pursuing that. That slipped off my radar, but yeah. Joe Reardon, who is a member of the Diamond Club. Joe, thank you for your support of me. Joe says, I think Josh Shapiro would be the Dems' strongest candidate in 28. I think he's in the top tier for sure, Joe. I think you've got Newsom, AOC, Shapiro. I think those are probably, if I had to pick only 3 that I thought would end up in the final 3, it's probably them. Yeah. Nora Hajian. I hope I'm saying that right, Nora. California is unaffordable, and that is one of my biggest misgivings about Newsom running for president. Yeah, I mean, look, this was mentioned above. The homelessness issues, the fire response, the response to COVID-19, the cost of living. All of these things are things that Newsom will have to own. And I think more broadly, will have to own sort of being from California and all that means to people who are not from California, most of it negative. SMCK, Gavin Newsom is the Democrats' version of Mitt Romney, inauthentic and blow-dried. I think that is also an attack on him. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think that Gavin Newsom may be too good looking to run for president. I don't know if people trust someone that good looking. Jack EO, anyone but Kamala Harris in 28. We need to win. Westmore, Josh Shapiro, etc. Yep. I think Westmore, I often forget him, but shouldn't. I think the governor of Maryland is going to run. He is intriguing, and I would keep an eye on him. Atheist nihilist. These people are nihilists, dude. They believe in nothing. Chris, you don't believe that Trump was politically persecuted by his opponents at all? Does that need to be acknowledged every time you say he is persecuting his opponent? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the one that people point out all the time is, well, the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago in 2022. And so this is the same thing, the Bolton stuff. They did raid it. They said that it was after repeated attempts to get him to turn over classified documents that he had, and he refused. Now, he would say, oh, that's all BS. I don't totally know where I land on that. Do I think the fact that he was an incredibly divisive guy who was running for president or in the process, of getting ready to run for president had no impact? No, I don't. I hope that's fair. Let's see. Dslav 2488 says Newsom Crockett 2028. I would not put Jasmine Crockett on the ticket, particularly if Gavin Newsom is the nominee. Talk about liberal pipe dream. Dslav says Josh Shapiro, God, no, anyone but him. Youthful politics. There are some problems with everyone they could nominate, but strategically thinking, the Democrats have to have a moderate to win the general election. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they have to have someone who has an unorthodox appeal. I don't know if that has to be a moderate. I mean, I think it just has to be someone who can't be typecast as just a liberal, a coastal liberal. I don't know if that has to mean that they have a bunch of moderate positions, but just that they have positions that are not entirely predictable and entirely down the line liberal. Let's see. SMC says times change, people don't. Hard to argue with that. Mr. Adventure, the pardon power should be limited in number. For example, 50 pardons per presidency. It's not a bad idea. The problem is Joe Biden could have still probably pardoned Hunter and his family if he wanted to prioritize them. I guess your point is, well, if he prioritized them as one of the 50, that would send a message. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I think we have to change the pardon power somehow. Paul Olson says, believe me, it's a continuing problem. Canadians are truly feeling empowered and patriotic now. Interesting. That is great. Great perspective. Dragonfire. I had a fantasy about moving to California. Then I did the numbers and wow, no, thank you. Yeah. What's so funny about that is my son and I 2 years ago were in San Diego for 10 days. This was in 2024. And he was like, why doesn't everyone live here? Because it's beautiful every single day, and San Diego's right by the beach, sunny. And I was like, well, it costs a huge amount of money to live here, which he wasn't really focused on. Joe Green makes a donation. Joe, thank you. No question, but I just want to call you out. Thank you for that donation. Jack 18, great show. What do you think Alyssa Slotkin's political future is? She seems to be trying to vie for a more prominent place in the party. I think she's interesting. Newly elected senator from Michigan. Keep an eye on her. I think she could be in the VP mix. Depending on who the nominee is. Let's see. Sam, GLG. Sam, thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. You rock. Hey, Chris, can we get your take on that New York City mayoral race? Feels like Adams and Cuomo want to lose. Has anyone ever tried to bribe you with cash and a bag of chips? No, but that story is incredible. For people who don't know, an aide to Eric Adams handed a reporter for The City, which is a publication in New York City that covers politics, I think it was like a chip, like a Ruffles or Lay's bag with like $100 or $200 stuffed in it. So bad. No one has ever tried to bribe me with a bag of chips stuffed with money. The only way Zoran Mamdani doesn't win, Sam, is if all of the other candidates consolidate behind one candidate. So if there is Curtis Sliwa and Jim Handler and Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, Zoran Mamdani is going to win. If there's three of those four, Zoran Mamdani is going to win. Unless they all get behind one person, even then Zoran Mamdani might win, but I think it's not as certain. But I think right now, I don't see Eric Adams getting out. Cuomo's not getting out. I don't think Curtis Sliwa is getting out. So I think he's probably going to win. The undergrad. Thoughts on the 2026 Florida gubernatorial election? I'm a right-leaning independent and moderate is my lane. I am leaning toward Democrat Dave Jolly. I think Byron Donalds is going to win. Dave Jolly, former Republican congressman, switched to the Democratic Party amid Trump. He's a fine candidate. He'll raise some money because he has a little bit of a national following, especially in the DC crowd. But I think Byron Donalds is going to win. DeSantis is still pretty popular. The state has moved in 2020 and 2022 and 2024 way over to Republicans. I don't see that race being super close. It feels like a 56-44 race to me. Robert Patnod, Lloyd Dobler for president, kickboxing sport of the future. I wonder how many of you got that reference. Classic movie, be well, stay safe. My favorite scene in that movie, which is other than maybe Annie Hall, my favorite movie is when Lloyd Dobler, who is John Cusack, he's like a high school kind of weirdo nerd, but also like super cool in his way. He is trying to date Diane Court, who is the kind of like, I think it's Ione Skye, who is the kind of like, not the most popular, but like the smartest girl in the school. And he like calls her up and stuff. And so anyway, he's going through this whole back and forth, and he's outside a gas station with these guys who are like giving him like advice about women. They're like kids. And he's like, if you guys know so much about women, what are you doing on a Saturday night sitting outside the gas and sip? And one of the guys goes, it's a conscious choice, Lloyd. It's a conscious choice, which is like my teenage years in a box. Mo Coffee, Canadian here. Canadians are very intimidated by and can't trust the mess that their neighbor has become. Fair enough. Richard Godshaw, Chris, how do you feel about potential insider trading in Congress and possibly even at the Supreme Court? It appears it's a universal problem regardless of party. Yeah, we got to ban member trading. Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican from Florida, is really trying to push this issue. It's not good. And even if they're not doing anything untoward, it looks bad. And people already don't trust Congress. So do we really need to give them another reason not to? I don't. Yeah. Omni Orum Non. The pardon power just shouldn't exist. What societal benefit does it actually serve? Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Let's see. John Suda says, go Canada, go. Thomas Davenport. Chris, how long do you think politicians that hate Trump keep up their act after he's gone, like Cruz and Rubio? I mean, at least through 2028, because he's not gone until he is dead. And even then, I'm not sure he's totally gone from his influence in the party, but assuming he's alive in 2028, everyone in that Republican primary is going to sort of stick to that they're supportive of his. All right, let me see if I can run through a bunch here at the end because I got to run in a sec. Daniel Kent. Curious your thoughts, Chris. I think the Dems need to become more left populist economically and tone down the dial on race and gender politics. Agree 1,000%. Which is interesting because, AOC represents populist left economic views, but also very much race, gender, sort of inclusion, wokeness, DEI. Do you have someone, does she abandon that part of it and just go left populist economically? Or is there someone who comes in and is a populist lefty on that stuff, but is also culturally being like, we don't really need to talk about it? Like, is that a spot Newsom maybe could fill? Let's see. Thomas Davenport, and again, Thomas, I just want to thank you for being a member of the Diamond Club. Chris, do you think Alito and Thomas will retire next year to give Trump 2 picks? I mean, they have time to retire again because remember, unless the Senate goes to Democrats, which I do not think it will in 2026, they have until 2028 to retire. Republicans are more strategic about this, and conservatives are more strategic about this long-term stuff than Democrats are. I give you Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So maybe I would put Thomas as more likely to retire than Alito, but what do I know? Bermdahl says, it's a bag of chips, Michael. What could it cost? $10? It's a banana, Michael. Lucille Bluth forever. Lucille Bluth for president. Dragonfire. Trump is singing blame Canada, blame Canada. He will never admit guilt. No, he will never admit guilt. Edwin Rodriguez. Why does the media feel like going low on Trump won't work? Rubio is the only person who did it back in 2016 for barely a week. Well, it didn't work for Rubio. It didn't really work for Hillary Clinton. I don't know. I mean, maybe we're in a different time period, but yeah. Daniel Kent. FY, after the last live stream, I Googled Diamond Club and everything that comes up is a strip club. Okay, so if you want, I'll end here because I got to go because I got to prep for this Cuomo thing. I'm doing a Substack Live with Chris Cuomo at 2:00. So if you follow me or you follow Chris Cuomo on Substack, you can watch me take questions with him at 2:00 p.m. Eastern. here's what you do if you want to join the Diamond Club. Do not enter a strip club where there are naked ladies or naked men dancing. Instead, go to youtube.com/Chris Cillizza, and there's a join button. Hit join. It'll give you the details. I think it's $6.99 a month. Again, you're supporting independent journalism. You're supporting me being able to do all this stuff, and you can become a member of the Diamond Club. You'll get more content than you get if you're just a regular subscriber. But look, I know not everyone can do that. If you can just hit the subscribe button, or even just hit the thumbs up button on this video, this live stream, that is hugely helpful to me. It helps me grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, Doe 2565 gave some dough, a $25 donation. Doe, thank you. That's incredibly kind and very much appreciated. And like I said, every dollar goes to me being able to do this stuff. So if you can make a donation, please do. You can do it in the super chat. You can become a member of get a little more. If you want to make a donation that gets you a little bit more content, you can become a member of the Diamond Club. If you want to check out more of my written content, you can go over to Substack. Just type in Substack and my name. It'll come up and become a member there. $6 a month, $60 a year. If you want to just buy me a coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com. There's a link in my YouTube page, and you can make a reoccurring donation there. Anyway, thank you all. Crazy week. I say that every week. I will be back next Friday. Join the Diamond Club if you can. And check me out at 2:00 with Chris Cuomo doing a Substack Live. All right, everyone. Have a good weekend. Take good care.